I I was just listening to a song called No One Mourns Wicked. And the weirdest thing happened. Was really like laying the pain out. And I was definitely thinking of my mum when that song played. I was definitely thinking of her. And I realised that the person that everyone mourned, it wasn't, when it came to my mum, the person everyone mourned was not the person that her children said goodbye to. The person everyone mourned she wasn't a good person, the person everyone mourned. The person I'm mourning, she cared about the world. She cared about people who were like her. That's the one thing she cared about. And she was murdered for it. She wasn't murdered for the people she hurt. She wasn't murdered for the cruelty that she exhibited. She was murdered because she loved her children and she loved other people. And it wasn't even just her I was crying for. I was remembering Lisa, T.I. and Liza and fucking so many people that died trying to get the truth out, and there's so many people who died by themselves. Thank God Liza Goldsmith never died alone. I thank God for that. But like there are so many TIs who died and they never got the justice they deserved. And I think of Phil Leak too. There's so many people who died trying to get the word out and trying to do the right thing, and they were alone not because they were bad people, but because everyone else were cowards. That's why they died. How many times do we have to be told through TV and movies that we're fucking shit? How many times do we have to be told the same thing before we wake the fuck up? Many of the general public are not the good guys. You prop the wicked up and then you don't take responsibility for it. Not a shred of responsibility. There are people who are dead, like good people who are dead. And you got the true evil people walking around here, still alive, to terrorize someone else, to kill someone else. And when it comes to me, I realize I'm alone. And I don't mean like alone in the physical sense. I don't mean like I'm by myself in my flat, because that's not a bad thing. Given how relationships have been weaponized in my life, me being alone by myself, as much as it hurts sometimes, it's not a bad thing. Because every relationship I've ever had has been weaponized against me. So that's not the bad part. The bad part is that even with people I talk to every day, there is still the microaggression of the same people who killed my fucking mother, of the same people the same type of people who killed Paige Harris and who killed Liza Goldsmith and who killed Phil Leak. Like even the conversations, even the few conversations that I have are loaded with microaggressions given from on high, from the same syndicates that killed my family members. And the reason why me being alone is so bad, again, it's not because of me. Because if I'm alone and I don't have to deal with a bunch of microaggressive assholes, if I don't have to deal with sociopaths who wail and cry about how guilty they feel and do nothing to help the situation, if I don't have that in my life, what do I lose? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't lose anything by being by myself. But what really scares me is the implications of the people that I want to help. Believe it or not, there are people in this world, right? Even in this country, who have it worse than I do. If anything, I want to be able to help them. I want to be able to make sure that they can't be murdered by this program. I want to make sure that they can't continue to be terrorized by this program. I'm sorry, I've got bogey. I want to make sure that they can fucking, that they have support, that they have someone that they could come to if anything. How can I do that if I'm by myself? For me, it's a good thing that I'm on my own, but for the people that I want to help, like, if I'm on my own and I don't have support, how can I help anybody? That's the thing that's fucking with me. That's the thing that's fucking with me. How could I have prevented my mother from being, you see, I was sitting here blaming myself and gaslighting myself about my mother's death, blaming myself for the fact that she died, right? It's like, like as if I'm like, me one is just supposed to solve this whole situation. How the fuck am I going to help anybody, stop anybody from being murdered if nobody listens to me? How the fuck am I single-handedly supposed to do that? I mean, sure, if I'd have made more of an effort, then I could have honestly said that there was nothing more that I could have done to make it right and to save my mother and to save so many people who would have died from the same thing. If I'd have tried harder, I'm not saying I didn't try. I'm not saying I didn't try, but I'm also not saying that I tried as hard as I should have done. I didn't try as hard as I should have done, but I did try, right? And if I'd have tried harder, I could have honestly said that even if my mum still ended up dying anyway, I could have said that there's nothing more that I could possibly have done to prevent that from happening. I could have done more. I'm not denying that. But how much the fuck am I supposed to do when nobody's listening? How was Lisa T.I. supposed to get out of a situation when nobody was listening? Even Liza Goldsmith, a gentle, kind soul, a married woman, a social woman, who did everything right. She did everything right. And she was still murdered. There's so many good people, so many decent people, so many people doing the right thing, dying alone. And for all that mourning everybody did at my mum's funeral, nobody was mourning the good person that she could have been. Nobody was mourning that person. They were mourning the glamour. They were mourning the mean person. They weren't mourning the person who genuinely cared. They were mourning the person who wanted to die. She said she wanted to die at 24 years old. She wanted to fucking die because of how awful she thought the sickle cell was. Little did she know, she was most likely being tortured electronically as well. Little did she fucking know. That's the person they're mourning. They're not mourning the real her. They're not mourning the her that actually cared and became so overwhelmed with how much she cared about the world sometimes. They're not mourning that person. Nobody mourns that person. Nobody gives a fuck about that person. They leave that person to die by themselves. That's what people do because they can't take the truth. I don't mind dying alone. I'm probably going to die alone anyway. That's not what bothers me. What bothers me is how the fuck am I supposed to help everybody if I'm doing this all by myself? How the fuck am I meant to help everybody when I have to manage everything by myself? How does that help them? How does that help everyone else? How does that help them when nobody fucking does what they're supposed to do? And they can keep their guilt and their shame. It doesn't mean fucking anything. And they can especially keep their fear. Nobody wants that shit. I'm on the good people that were lost. There are so many people that were killed and shouldn't have been killed. So many people. And and it's like every Christmas I'm reminded of not only my mum's death, even though that's the one that really hurts the most, but it's just there are so many good people that should still be here. They should still be here, and it's not fair. There's so many cowards still alive, so many evil people still alive. So many evil people who think they're good because they can cry in the same way that I'm crying right now. That's what makes them think they're good people. There's so many. It's not fair. And I can't help them. I can't help anybody. I want to so badly and I can't. How much can I do by myself? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do anymore. You know what keeps me from the one thing that I don't know how to do? That's the one thing that's keeping me alive. If I do anything to myself, then what was the point of me being here? What would have been the point if I ended my own life? Then what would be the point of me being here at all? It was all for nothing. If I go, it's for nothing. All of it. If they want to murder me, then that's up to them, innit? Like, they've already made up their mind that was what they were going to do. The gang stalkers already made up their mind to murder me, just like they've made up their mind to murder every other TI. It's not a big deal to me, but it's just if I do something to myself, then 40 years, almost 40 years of life, it would have meant nothing. Because that's not what I was here to do. I wasn't here to self-destruct. I wasn't even here for revenge. That's not why I'm here. But the same thing that I want to do is that, like, I feel like I can't do it. And it's frustrating. And there are so many people who died alone and didn't deserve to. I remember when my mum was in that hospital, I could have sworn she was drowning in her own fluid. They let her drown in her own fluid, and I could have sworn she was crying for help. Help me. So it's just what time when she started to love us, when she started to care, that's when everything hit her. That's when I can't. I hate that happened to her at that time. The shit is not fair, man. The shit is, the shit is not fair. It's just not fair. It's not fair. None of it. And when people are insulting towards everything about me, my body and my race, and I mean it's hurtful, but it's like sometimes sometimes I focus on the smaller stuff that people say because it stops me thinking about the fact that I'm being tortured to death and that good people are being tortured to death and absolutely no one is helping us. Sometimes I need to think about the smaller stuff. Sometimes I even need to obsess over it because it stops me thinking about the fact that people are dying, people are being murdered, and nobody's helping. And everybody's making it worse because they want to be comfortable. It stops me thinking about how awful human beings actually are and how little accountability we actually have. And how shameless a lot of human beings are. It stops me thinking about it. If I think about the street theatre that the gang stalkers do, it stops me thinking about the remote torture that's literally killing people. Sometimes I need to think about the trivial shit. I don't know what to tell you. I know I'm beautiful. And I know I'm intelligent. And I know that whatever size I am, that doesn't change. I also know that I'm not liked. That's fine. You know, that used to bother me, but it doesn't bother me so much anymore because now I have to really, I've said it before, now I have to really think who I'm disliked by. Now I really have to think about it. And I have to look at the world and really look at it properly and understand who am I not liked by. I've really got to think about it. If I was not liked by people of sorts, by people who had good hearts and people who were courageous. If I was disliked by good people, then I'd be like, yeah, I get it, you know, and, you know, I'd be as hurt as I used to be, but like, sorry, I got to itch my shoulder. It's just not, but now I have to think, who am I disliked by? I'm disliked by the same people that are letting good people die because they don't want to face the truth. What does that like? Like that's what I mean. I'm not liked, but by who? And if I keep my word, what does that really mean? What am I keeping my word for? You know what I mean? There's so many criticisms that have been leveled at me. Now I have to really think about them carefully. Who am I disliked by? The same people that let fucking Lisa T.I. die? The same type of people that let her die? When she had been begging for help all the way up to her death? The same people that, the same type of people that killed Liza Goldsmith, a gorgeous, sweet woman who did nothing to nobody? Who am I supposed to be disliked by? The same people that killed David Scott Baker, left him dead with terminal cancer because of these fucking weapons? Because he had the temerity as an 11-year-old to speak out against somebody who abused him? Who am I supposed to be disliked by? The same people that let Phil Leak die? The same type of people, not the same people, but the same type of people that let Phil Leak die, the same type of people that drove Christopher Organtini to suicide, the same people that left fucking holes in Daniel Bowden's abdomen, killed him. Who am I supposed to be disliked by? What the fuck? Like, do you know what I mean? Who am I supposed to be disliked by? The same people that know that I'm being tortured and who are ridiculing me and trying to intimidate me into silence. Those people, the same people who are calling me a bad woman, even though they know for sure that I'm being tortured to death and they need the bad woman tag to cover up what they've been doing. Who am I disliked by? Let's be fucking real. Let's be fucking real. Let's be all the way fucking 100 about this shit. Who am I supposed to be disliked by? You kidding me? And again, the only reason why it means something that I'm by myself is because if I'm by myself and I'm the only person who actually cares about what the root of everybody's problem is, that's bad. If I'm the only person who cares about targeted individuals and black people and women and queer folk and trans people and children and neurodivergent people and disabled people, if I'm the only one who can see the intersectionality of this whole fucking thing, and I'm the only one willing to speak out, and I'm the only one willing to do something about it, if I can only see the interaction between all of that and immigrants, and the countries that have been bombed out by the most powerful countries on the planet, like if I'm the only one who can see the intersectionality of all this shit, then how does that help everyone else? How does that help the vulnerable? And the vulnerable, let's be clear, the vulnerable and the marginalized are the backbone of this planet. If you ever want to know how good a planet's doing, look at the most vulnerable in your society. Look how they're doing. How are they doing? That's your clue right there. That's your clue right there. And everybody pretends to care, but they don't. They only care about being able to relate to a one-on-one person. That's all they care about. They don't give a fuck about the world. They give a fuck about themselves. Same story all over again. I'm supposed to be disliked by that. Oh, let me cry a river over that one. Like, man, give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break, man. can't do this by myself. It's not going to help gang stalking. It's not going to end this shit. And I feel like I'm doing it on my own, even though I'm not. There are plenty of organizations out there, like there are at least, I wouldn't say plenty that I know about, but there's been Paulo Fiora. He's been going to protest, sometimes by himself, going to Speaker's Corner, talking about gang stalking. He's been facing brutality upon brutality by himself, with no help at all. He's been doing it by himself. He's been facing down the brutality. He's been facing down the harshness of gang stalking. He's been doing it by himself, with no help at all. So I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one out here. There's targeted justice. I don't know about targeted justice. I've heard some things about targeted justice, but there's targeted justice. There's PACTS. There's PACs. There are targeted individual organizations out there. I know that. I know that I'm not the only one who's isolated and doing this, but seemingly by herself. I know that. But a lot of targeted individuals are like phobic in all kinds of ways. If they're not racist, which many of them are not, if they're not racist, then they're not sexist, which many of them are not. They've got phobias in other areas. They've got xenophobia in other areas. And then when it comes to the queer communities, they don't want to look at Havana syndrome because Havana syndrome is associated with the alt-right. And as for black people, don't even get me started on that. We got so caught up in being ignored by the rest of the world as black people, we didn't think about who we fucking ignored. We didn't think about who we fucking maligned. Gang stalking victims included. We didn't stop to think about that, but we're stopping to think about our own victimhood in relation to the rest of the world. I can't stand that shit. And as bad as my people are, the people who are non-black are even worse when it comes to that victimhood shit. They feel victimized at just a fraction of what black people go through. Just like black people feel victimized at a fraction of what black TIs go through. And black queer people go through black queer TIs, Jesus Christ. Like, like, nah, as bad as my people are, non-black people are even worse. Even worse when it comes to the victimhood shit. And if you've got layer upon layer of people abusing their privilege and victimizing themselves for every slight that they feel, then where does it leave the truly vulnerable people in society? Where does it leave the truly good people in society? Where does it leave them? I would sit here and tell you what type of grand plan I had for targeted individuals, but at this point, if I am going to do anything to help my community, I'd rather just do it. I'd rather just do it and not talk about it on camera. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to let my actions do the talking when it comes to that. It's just very hard to have conversations with people knowing that they're murdering me and knowing that they're part of my torture. It's difficult. And it's difficult to know that those same types of people are the same ones that have already led so many good people and so many harmless people to their deaths. It's heartbreaking to think about, but I'm going to keep going for as long as I can. Even if sometimes I end up screaming and crying with grief, even if the heartbreak gets too much sometimes, I'm going to keep going because That's what I'm on this planet to do. And it's as simple as that. My fellow TIs, I love you. I truly do. All the TIs that don't know they're TIs, I love you too. And I'm not, I'm not just saying that. I completely mean that. I do love you guys. My heart breaks for you every day. It really does. Not just for my family. My heart breaks for all of you going through this shit day after day, being attacked, having your loved ones attacked, having your animal companions attacked. Every day. You don't get peace. And it breaks my heart. It really does. It does. It hurts so much that you don't get peace. I don't get peace either, but it's like, I have my own way of dealing with it, so it doesn't hurt so much when it happens to me. But knowing that this is happening to other people, it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's horrible. Anyway, I'm going to get on with the rest of my day. I'm not going to push myself into feeling happy. I'm not going to push myself into feeling shit that I don't feel. I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the feelings do what they do. If I end up screaming and crying again, then I end up screaming and crying again. It's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. I can do it. I can scream and cry for a while. And then, once it's all over, I can get on with life. It is what it is. I love you. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.